This is India Radio. In the program Spotlight, now we bring you a discussion on details of economic package announced by Finance Minister. The participants are Sushma Ramachandran, economic analyst, and AIR special correspondent Mattu JP Singh.
In today's third press conference, Finance Minister Mrs. Nirmala Sitharaman announced economic stimulus for agriculture sector today, and she enumerated it in 11 major points. So to begin with was outlay of 1 lakh crore rupees for agriculture infrastructure. How will this help in capacity building and logistics?
This is an area that has been talked about actually for decades, that, the farm sector needs this kind of infrastructure. I mean, we are talking about cold chains, we're talking about warehouses, we're talking about grain storages. This is a very important element of the entire farm process. So, putting in that much of money, 1 lakh crore, I'm sure it will finally, I hope at least, it should finally achieve the objectives because, the problem has always been that our farmers have, on some seasons, they produce a lot, they're not able to store them, they're not able to process them because there are not enough storage facilities or cold chain facilities. So hopefully with this kind of investment, the farmers will be able to utilize their produce to the maximum and, of course, raise their incomes.
For formalization of micro-food enterprises, Finance Minister spoke about cluster-based approach, as you must have noticed in the press conference, and with emphasis on vocal for local. How is it going to impact especially the aspirational districts?
Well, I think this is, of course, something that in the market, you and I also see that now there's a great demand for health products, organic products. Everybody is talking about it. Let us try and build up our immunity, especially nowadays. So, these local products are something that are not just in demand in this country. They are in demand abroad also. So this kind of investment, if you are able to tap the requirements, now they talked about makhana coming from Bihar, kesar coming from Kashmir, and ragi and bamboo shoots coming from other parts of the country. These are all organic products that not only in demand, as I said, within the country, but abroad. It has been a question of tapping it. And if you adopt a cluster approach, then you are able to raise the income levels of people who are, in the natural course, they have been producing these products, but they have not been getting their required inputs, probably seeds and whatever other inputs they require for this. And also, most importantly, marketing support. So hopefully this fund should move in that direction.
An outlay of 20,000 crore rupees was announced for Matsya Sampada Yojana. How do you think will this benefit the fisheries sector?
This is, I think, going to be a great leap for the fisheries sector. This fund, of course, was, I think, already started, perhaps in the budget, but there's a much larger outlay now. And I think that one of the things that is very important here is that they are going to get talking about insurance for the vessels of the fishermen, because this is a big problem because fishermen go out and, of course, their fishing vessels can be damaged or lost. So they need insurance. So that's one thing. The second thing that has been talked about is laboratories so that you can do testing of, processed products. There's a lot of fish processing going on. Shrimp processing also is going on for export. So we need to have this testing done to meet the requirements of exporters. And also, it is a great employment generating activity. I mean, the finance minister mentioned that up to 55 lakh jobs should be made available through this process. So fishing is something that has always been on the sidelines, and hopefully it should come into the mainstream now.
Now, if we talk about the National Animal Disease Control Program, in the press briefing, it was proposed that 100% vaccination of around 53 crore livestock to prevent the foot and mouth disease eradication should be done. How is this going to help, or how will this impact the prospects in animal husbandry?
I think this is something that perhaps, not much attention is paid to these things, but these are really key issues when we talk about animal husbandry. That is the health of the animals. And the finance minister pointed out that we are probably the largest number of such domestic animals in the world, cows and buffaloes. And we need to ensure their health, and also in turn these cows and buffaloes, for which we get a lot of products, we get dairy products, and also we have to ensure that the food that they get, the cattle feed, is of good quality. So all this is an entire chain of requirements. Animal fodder is required for these animals. So we have to ensure the health of these animals. I think that this particular disease that was talked about, foot and mouth disease, is very much prevalent. And if we can actually achieve this target of 100% vaccination, I think that will definitely improve the health and the productivity of all these animals. And we have such a huge numbers in this country.
You just mentioned about the dairy production, and regarding this, Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund of rupees 15,000 crore has been proposed. How do you think this will focus on the high milk production, and how does it help for providing a platform for private investment?
It's linked to the earlier issue of animal disease because, these are the dairy is coming from cows and dairy products are coming from cows and buffaloes. So the health of cows and buffaloes is directly linked to this dairy production. This is very much a linked issue. And the fact that we are going to put 15,000 crores in dairy infrastructure is really significant in terms of the potential that we have, not only for meeting domestic requirements, but for exports. And for exports, we really need to have a lot more involvement of private sector, private entrepreneurs to do things like perhaps set up cheese-making plants, to set up processed milk plants, all kinds of milk powder plants. These are the kind of things that can be exported, and where you need to have involvement of the private sector to really take off. So I think this is really a move in the right direction. We are one of the largest milk producers in the world, and this milk production needs to be utilized in a way, as they say, not just locally, but also globally. We should be able to export our products.
Finance Minister also spoke about promotion of herbal cultivation. She proposed an outlay of 4,000 crore rupees, which is going to generate income of 5,000 crore rupees. It has been proposed that medicinal plants can be grown on both sides of River Ganga. And how do you view this proposal, especially now when we are looking at Ayurvedic solutions during the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, absolutely. I think this is, it's a very, very timely project because,
Yes,
as I mentioned earlier, right now everyone is talking about the need for going back to herbal and medicinal plants to build up our immunities. People are going back to turmeric and to all sorts of Ayurvedic medicines like ashwagandha, many others I've just mentioned too, but many others. And this is a great opportunity if we can. People all around the world are seeking Indian medicinal plants, and this would be a great opportunity. Of course, this is something that would be in the medium to long term. It will happen, but the demand has already arisen from abroad, and not just within the country but abroad. And we need to be able to step up and to meet this demand. I think setting up this corridor on either side of the River Ganga would obviously also improve the efforts to clean the Ganga, because if you have better herbal plants on either side, you will have a more obviously better environment.
Talking about the beekeeping initiatives, the Finance Minister has proposed 500 crore rupees for this purpose. How do you think this will benefit the 2 lakh beekeepers?
As the Finance Minister did point out, this is something that is being talked about globally nowadays. The fact that bees are actually declining as a species, and that is because of environmental degradation in many parts of the world. Now, in this country, in parts of our country, for instance, Northeast, there's a lot of beekeeping going on. We get very good honey from even not just the Northeast, from the hills of our country. And they have in the past also, the Khadi and Village Industries Commission has been doing very yeoman work in development of this sector. It definitely needs to be promoted at a time when, and these are very important for the environment. There have been a lot of scientific studies saying that unless you have bees present, your entire flora and fauna could, deteriorate. It's a very small amount, technically 500 crores, but I think it's really very significant.
Another initiative which she spoke about was from top to total. In this, we were talking about the supply chains of perishable items, and we have heard about how farmers had to go for distress sales. So, what outcomes are we expecting from this initiative, which is like on a pilot for 6 months?
Well, these are the key, vegetables. I mean, every season, whenever there is a shortage or high prices, we always talked about these three items: onions, tomatoes, and potatoes. We don't talk about any other vegetables. Of course, Operation Greens has been extended to other vegetables, but these three key vegetables are the ones, basic requirements, staples. The requirement, I think, is to ensure not just availability for consumers like us, but to ensure that the farmer gets reasonable income throughout the year. Not that he produces excess at some point of time and therefore he has to dispose of that product at a loss. And at other times, there's a shortfall and he makes a huge windfall. So there should be a steady income. And I think the Operation Greens project hopefully should ensure that there is, some kind of assured income for the farmer. And there should not be that much of volatility.
Finance Minister announced that Essential Commodities Act will be amended to enable better price realization for farmers. How do you think this amendment will bring about a change?
This is really a path-breaking amendment, and it is something that anybody who has been looking at the agriculture sector has been wanting happen for a very, very long time, because the Essential Commodities Act is actually very useful at the time that it was promulgated, but it does not fit into the scenario as it is now, where we are in a situation of agricultural surpluses. And I think this is something that is long overdue. It's a very, very major agricultural reform. It will enable stocks to be held, especially by food processors, without any problem, by farmers, because they do have surpluses now and they do need to keep huge inventories. There was a time when there were shortages and, there was a feeling that both farmers and traders, processors might be hoarding stocks. The situation is very different now, and this is a much, much needed requirement.
It was also proposed that a central law be brought so that, farmers can sell without barriers, sort of e-trading, and to provide marketing choices to farmers. How do you think this will benefit the farmers?
This is again a very agricultural reform, because farmers had to sell only to people in certain mandis. They could not, to regulated mandis, they could not sell to whomever they want. They were not allowed to transfer their products to state basis. So if this legislation goes through, I think this is again a very major development for trading in agricultural commodities. It will allow free movement of products. And also the talk was of e-trading, that farmers should be able to go ahead and be able, on an e-platform, they should be able to sell their products. So this frees the farmer. The farmer should be able to sell his products to whoever he likes, and he should not have any restrictions on it.
Finance Minister also spoke about the agriculture produce price and quality assurances, and there was a talk to bring about a facilitative legal framework. How do you look at this?
Again, bringing farming into the modern scenario where you have companies, large food aggregators, you have large processing companies, and you have exporters who want to tie up with farmers and say, well, I'm going to either export or process a certain quantity of this product, and I want you to produce it, and I will give you in advance certain amount of money. This kind of tie-up or this kind of agreement with the farmer gives the farmer an assurance that he will have a certain amount of income at the end of the season or at the end of the year. Obviously, their income levels of farmers will go up significantly. They can tie up directly with these large aggregators and these large companies. So if you provide them with this legal framework, they will be able to kind of logistical chain on their own, and definitely it will raise the income level of farmers.
Thank you for joining us on the program.
Thank you.
You were listening to a discussion on details of economic package announced by Finance Minister. The participants were Sushma Ramachandran, Economic Analyst, and AIR Special Correspondent Mattu J.P. Singh. This program was produced and presented by the News Services Division of All India Radio. You can listen to it on our mobile app, News on AIR. This program is also available on our website, newsonair.com. You may email your opinion about this program on airnsdtalks@gmail.com.